Hey everybody, welcome to the STIHL TIMBERSPORTS International Broadcast Studio from Munich, Germany. We hope you're enjoying our continuing coverage of the U.S. National Championships. Today, a special treat for you, the U.S. Women's National Championships for 2021. This should be an amazing competition. There are a bunch of women who have been training hard in the off time because of COVID-19 and have really stepped up their game, so we're going to see some incredible competition action from these ladies today. In particular, we have Erin Lavoie and Martha King, who are 2018 and 2019 champions respectively. You know they are going to be looking to get to the top of that podium and battling hard for that position. This year, the women are also going to be facing a new challenge. It is the first time that standing block chop will be included in the women's competition, so that is yet another factor that adds to the toughness of this event. It's a very difficult discipline, even for the guys, and the women are going to be knocking the blocks off of these things big time. So really excited to see this action coming to you from Little Rock, Arkansas. And on that note, let's head over to Tommy Sanders and Kevin Holtz with our hosting duties on site.
Today, 12 athletes will compete in 4 lumberjack disciplines.
Competition is just becoming harder and harder, and that's just kudos to all of us women for working hard and, setting the bar high every time.
People find it absolutely empowering that women are out here doing timber sports. I'm ready to step up to the plate and compete.
Being underneath the light when they say go, I have prepared for it. I love competitions.
Now that we're here at championships, we're ready to go.
To become the one competitor who will be the 2021 STIHL TIMBERSPORTS Women's U.S. Champion.
Hello and welcome, STIHL TIMBERSPORTS 2021 U.S. Championships, and we've got a great championship ready to roll for you right now. Tommy Sanders here with Kevin Holtz and the Women's Championship. We started, Kevin, of course, with 28 hopefuls around the country. We're down to our 12 finalists today. So many great matchups on the way, including a matchup between the last 2 championships, winners in the women's division.
Yeah, Martha King and Erin Lavoie, both past champions, both would like to add another championship to their belt. But we have a very talented pool of athletes. This is by far the deepest pool of women athletes we've ever brought here before, and we've added a new discipline. The standing block chop is now part of the STIHL TIMBERSPORTS Women's Championship. It's been part of competition for these ladies for quite some time. It's the first time we've brought it to the big stage, though. So a lot of excitement with that new discipline.
Great competition, great skills, great speed and accuracy on the line today in the U.S. Women's Championship.
Let's get things started with our first discipline, the stock saw.
In the stock saw, 2 athletes compete at once using identically tuned running MS661 chainsaws. At the start signal, the down cut is made first, then a quick transition to the up cut. Both discs must be cut within a 4-inch section of the wood.
4 disciplines in this year's 2021 Women's Championship. We're going to start with the stock saw. And in heat number 1, our defending champion on stand number 1, Martha King of Pennsylvania, going against New York's Tracy Henning, also a competitor in 2019.
Well, out of all of our disciplines here today, this is the event of hundreds of seconds. Every little bobble can cost you. It can be the difference between first and fifth in a heartbeat. Great clean run from Martha King. Very thin cut at the bottom from Tracy. She got it though, looks good. Go back and take a look at this run. Quick, clean to the wood, consistently thick cut, nice straight lines. You got to take the shortest distance across this log, which is straight up and down. Not a lot of lost time on that changeover.
Martha not wasting time right out of the gates, sub 11 seconds. You had that saw full throttle as it was coming up the log.
I've had a hard time really getting a feel for the saw in the wood, and I haven't really been listening to it in the last 2 STIHL Series events that I've had. So my focus was really listening to, feeling the saw, not trying to put too much on it, but still trying to get the most out of it. So I'm really, really pleased with that. I feel much more at peace now that the stock saw is done.
Well, what a great start, putting the pressure on the rest of the field. Good job.
Thank you.
Well, there's some results right out of the gate there. Martha King's official time, 10.65. Tracy Henning, 13.41. Martha King, our defending champion's time, a new women's record. Heat number 2 on stand number 1 was not here in 2019. Veteran performer Julie Miller from Branchport, New York. Stand number 2. One of the really celebrated veterans here, Nancy Zaleski.
3, 2, 1, go!
Oh, Julie Miller, though, very fast to the log. If she keeps this clean through that block, she's going to be right on pace.
Ooh. Look out.
Look at Nancy Zaleski, though, reel her in through the wood. What a race between these two competitors. Not the fastest time to the block for Nancy Zaleski. This is something that she's worked on quite a lot. Julie Miller beat her to the block by a long shot, but Zaleski very quick on the switch and very efficient through the block.
Nancy, 2 clean discs on the cutting room floor. You won the Stock Saw 2018, had a slight mishap in 2019. How do you feel in 21?
I feel better, you know. Went back to the basics and said we got to just cut a lot of logs, cut a lot of discs off, and get back to those things that you know you need to do right. And this one was probably one of the better cuts I've made this season.
There's your official times. Nancy Zaleski with a 10.85. Miller 11.65. She's in 3rd place. Everyone chasing her eye-popping record-setting time of Martha King in our first heat, 10.65. Heat number 3 on stand number 1, New England from Oxford, Connecticut. Kelly Kerrigan was 8th in 2019 competition here. The last time we contested this one. Emily DeYoung-Brown, veteran of that Paul Smith's college program, on stand number 2.
Kelly just into the timber ahead of Emily, but trouble on stand number 1. Way too much pressure for Kelly. Bogs the saw down. Again on the upcut. A runaway for stand number 2, Emily DeYoung-Brown. Brown, he is up into the block. Nice thin cut. We talked about this in the semifinals for the men's, but thin to win is a legit statement. You know, you put up too thick of a cut, and there's a lot of lateral pressure. There's a lot of pinching in force on the rivets and the side plates of the chains. But just nice, clean, straight, consistent shower of chips coming out of that saw. Great run from Emily.
There's your official numbers right there. Kelly Kerrigan is able to post a time right there, and Emily DeYoung-Brown's time of 10.88. Really good, but only good enough for 3rd place in this very competitive stock saw competition. Heat number 4, stand number 1, Ken Witkowski from Hayward, Wisconsin, our 3rd place finisher from 2019. 6th in 2019 on stand number 2, Alexandra Miller.
3, 2, 1, go!
Watching the setup process, you saw Alex Miller bring the saw up and lower it directly down into the position she wanted, made sure she was ready to go. Look at Kate Witkowski, though, over on stand number 1, posting a blistering time. She's going to be right on the heels of Martha King. I don't know that she got her, but it's still an exceptionally fast cut. Let's go back and look at this run from Kate on stand number 1. Very thin but consistent cut down through there. Just a cascade of chips out the back of that saw. A little bit of a bobble there on the changeover. That probably got dangerously close to the line. But again, thin, consistent disc on the way up. Very little pressure in on the side plates and rivets. Fast time for Kate.
There's your official times right there. Kate Witkowski, again, a 10.898. Just barely edged by Emily DeYoung-Brown there for 4th place. And look at our top 4 times, 0.2 of a second separating. That's the nature of this competition here today. It's really exciting. Heat number 5 of the stock saw, Caitlin Page from Oregon, 7th place here, 2019. Last time we contested this, going up against Hannah Quigley. Made the finals her first year, first try coming out here, so much expected from her.
3, 2, 1, go!
Small bobble, but great recovery on stand number 2, and a little bit of foot movement from Kate Page on stand number 1. Very close at the finish. This is just the absolute tiniest of details in terms of body position and getting the saw around in front of you. it's just a slightly awkward start on stand number 2. Gets into the timber, though, looks clean. There you see troubles at the switch, which definitely cost her the race.
There we see Hannah Quigley's official time, a 12.24. The DQ for Caitlin Page, and still on top, Martha King with 1 heat remaining. 2 competitors going to have to set a record time in order to take her off that top spot. Last heat of the stock saw Colin Shepard on stand number 1, her first time experience in the STIHL Timbersports Championships here, and Erin Lavoie, our champion from 2018, runner-up. Last time this was played in 2019.
Obviously, Tommy, a lot of attention going to be on stand number 2. As you pointed out, our 2018 champ, runner-up in 2019. Well, nobody got a chance in 2020,
Nope.
but here we are back in 2021. A lot of attention on Erin Lavoie and our 2019 champion, Martha King, and her record in heat number 1. Synchronized starts, both clean runs. Colin Shepard really, I was going to say, just putting a little more emphasis into that cut, a little steadier stream of chips. Colin Shepard is going to take that heat over Erin Lavoie. Let's watch this run from Colin. Watch the discharge of chips on this down cut. And this is where we saw trouble with Kelly. You see there's a pretty solid spray, but the chips are just starting to kind of just cascade out the bottom. There's not a lot of velocity coming out the back. That's telling them the chain speed is starting to drop, and she is really putting everything she can into that saw. Just an extra ounce of pressure, and it would have stalled out just like we saw in Kelly's cut. So that just shows you that margin. If you've got a small stream of chips flying out the back, well, then not enough pressure. Colin had every ounce that she could have done on that.
Well, there you see Colin Shepard's time stacking up there pretty good. In 6th place in this fast company in the stock saw, 11.33. Erin Lavoie's time good for 8th place, 11.98. So top points going to your defending champion, laying down a new record, 10.65 for Martha King. So that new U.S. record of 10.65 in the stock saw is our John Deere power play. Nothing runs like a deer.
Quick, clean to the wood, consistently thick cut, nice straight lines. You've got to take the shortest distance across this log, which is straight up and down. Not a lot of lost time on that changeover. Great clean run from Martha King.
So top points going to your defending champion, laying down a new record, 10.65 for Martha King. When we come back, the axes are out in our newest event in the women's competition, the standing block.
I think it'll shake things up a bit. There are a lot of collegiate competitors who have cut a lot of standing blocks, while some of us didn't have that experience in college or early on in our wood chopping days. So I'm very excited that we have the opportunity to chop. And this is definitely a dangerous event, and it requires a lot of skill and a lot of technique.
STIHL Timbersports is sponsored by STIHL, maker of a full line of gasoline and battery-powered handheld outdoor power equipment. Find yours at stihlusa.com. By the Duluth Trading Company, the official workwear of STIHL Timbersports. By Ace Hardware. Ace is the helpful place. And by John Deere. Nothing runs like a deer. Welcome back to Simmons Bank Arena here in North Little Rock, Arkansas, home of the 2021 STIHL Timbersports Women's U.S. Championship. We have completed 1 of 4 disciplines, and our 2019 champion, Martha King, sits atop the leaderboard as we move into our second discipline, the standing block. For more on the standing block, here's the Duluth Trading Company Discipline Review.
The standing block mimics the process of felling a standing tree. The competitor chops out the front half of the log first, then repositions to the backside as quickly as possible to chop the remaining wood until the log is severed.
Standing block now an element of one of our disciplines in this Women's National Championship, STIHL Timbersports Championship. This is heat number 1, standing in 2nd place so far. Nancy Zaleski, stand 1. Kelly Kerrigan, stand number 2.
Kelly with a tough go in the stock saw event. She's going to be looking to bring this back into play. This is maybe not the discipline, though. As you mentioned, this is year number 1 for the standing block for our women in the STIHL Timbersports series. That said, though, this is not year number 1 for women cutting standing block. This has been happening outside the STIHL Timbersports series for decades now, and we're finally getting the recognition here on the Timbersports stage. Championship day, we're cutting standing block. Nancy Zaleski, 2 swings up, 2 swings down, lifts a chip, There's still plenty of cuttable wood on the far side of that block. Kelly Kerrigan bringing some pace to it, coming in a little bit flat on one hit, but dialing it in on that follow-up hit. I was just about to say we're down to the driving blows, and there goes Nancy Zaleski driving off an impressive amount of timber. Kelly's got to hold the slope there. She's got a fair amount of wood on the far side. There she goes, picks that up with a couple of up hits, clears these chips out, coming in a little bit low on that hit. Now she works into the driving pattern. Now one more chip to clear, I guess. Now we're going to take this thing off. Top of that block, ripe for the picking. Kelly Kerrigan wraps up the standing block chop. Here's a look at the cut from Nancy Zaleski. Slope is everything in this event. When you've got an axe and you're presenting it to the block, you can see those straight in hits just bounce back out. Proper slope, proper presentation of the axe, and it's a beautiful slicing motion into this white pine.
There's your official times. Nancy Zaleski, a 52-28, 79-77 for Kelly Kerrigan. Heat number 2 and Julie Miller, currently in 7th place in the overall standings right now on stand number 1. Tracy Henning in 10th, stand number 2.
3, 2, 1, go!
These two are virtual neighbors, both New York natives. They run around the same competitions together all summer, so this is going to seem like a very at-home environment, except for the smoke machines, the lights, the spark throwers, all that kind of stuff. Julie Miller has the power, she has the knowledge, she has the skills to take this heat. She's just got to put all those pieces together. Tracy Henning has lost her way a little bit in the middle of this front block. She's lost her slope. She's going to bail out of there. She's, I'm going to open up this backside. I'll get this cut better on the second half. Julie Miller, though, exceptionally strong. Coming in really flat on the bottom. I think she's trying to twist that axe up and in instead of just letting that slope happen. Looking better at the top, but still room for improvement and a ton of material that she can work with. A huge wall of wood there she can be cutting as she works her way in towards the middle of the block. This is where Tracy's going to have trouble. You see she's got almost like an oversized springboard pocket on side 1 there that doesn't give her a lot of fresh air to drive into. Julie Miller, though, has got this down to a thin wall of wood, looking for that fresh air. There it is. Well, just shook it loose at the end. So you can see Julie's facial expression there. This is where Tracy's just going to end up snapping this block off. She's coming in very flat. She doesn't have a lot of fresh air. The look of surprise as she manages to break that block off. Julie Miller opened with a very wide face. Then you see she stepped down the top of that cut. Still room for additional slope, better cut, but we're getting there. Watch this last drive. She surprises herself. That was actually a missed hit. she has a little bit of a pleased but embarrassed look on her face when the block just kind of breaks apart anyways.
Julie, a solid cut in the standing block based on your facial expression when you came off. You felt that you could have cut it better?
I could have cut that entirely better. I'm honestly a little bit of jitters today, even without a crowd. So I couldn't really pull myself out of my head to straighten out what I needed to do. And obviously it showed in the cut, and I knew I wasn't doing what I wanted to do, but it is what it is now.
There's Julie Miller's time, a 72.22. Tracy Henning, 84.80. Nancy Zaleski still on top with a 52.28. Heat number 3, another New York matchup, 6th place currently. Coming into the standing block, Colin Shepard on stand number 1, Hannah Quigley on stand 2.
3, 2, 1, go!
Brand new mommy Colin Shepard on stand number 1. Congratulations to her, of course. These ladies weighed in. Hannah Quigley is opening up this block exceptionally well. If she can keep that slope, keep that pattern. She's got the work done on the near side. She's going to go to the far side, clear out that far wood. There's a bit of, there we go. Well, it came in a little bit high, but still got through to that center line. She's around to the back. Colin Shepard's got a nice big front face opening this block. Sets her front drivers in an upward arc and is around to the back. Little hope of reeling in Hannah Quigley at this point. There it is. Hannah Quigley drives off. Coming in the mid 40-second range.
Hey.
There it is. Colin Shepard drives off. In any of these chopping disciplines, you got to pave the road early on, and Hannah Quigley did a really nice job of that. She's done the best job out of anyone that's come to the stage so far. Those first 4 opening blows, relatively accurate. I mean, just putting the hits where they need to go. And look at how that just opens up a beautiful, cuttable face of wood for her to work her way in on. If she's just randomly spraying hits in off the bat, that's already pointing the car in the wrong direction and sets you up for a struggle the rest of the way through the block. Same story on the backside. Gets the job done with appropriate slope, appropriate body positioning, and really just puts up a solid, clean cut.
Hannah Quigley, first year in timber sports. Unofficially, you've just taken the lead by a solid 6 seconds, but you're shaking your head saying that was sketchy.
Yeah, it definitely isn't what I've been practicing. I came in pretty flat. The axe I'm competing with is just a little bit heavier than what I've been training with, which kind of brings the weight on a little bit when I'm trying to go between the down and up hits. Still was trying to work on my placement a lot, which I think was really what got me through the block.
Well done, Hannah Quigley. A 46.32 affords her some separation from the rest of the crowd here. It's going to also afford her a points upgrade from the first discipline into this second discipline of the standing block right there. Colin Shepard time 6.954 has her in third. Heat number 4 ready to go. Former medalist here in this competition in years past, Kate Witkowski from Wisconsin. Caitlin Page on stand number 2. She's in 12th place. She can really do herself a lot of good with a competitive effort here.
Women's division has a fewer number of disciplines presently compared to the men's division. That makes it harder to dig yourself out of a points deficit. Caitlin Page with a DQ in that stock saw is coming in with the ultimate deficit out of our first discipline, but she is putting on a show in this standing block chop. Beautiful open front face, shifted a lot of wood out of the front of that block. Backside is not coming apart quite so well, and we need to glue 2 separate blocks together, because right now I've shifted my attention over to Kate Witkowski, who's putting in a great backside of the block, not enough to reel in Page. What an effort in the second half of that block for Witkowski.
Yeah, I noticed that I didn't clear as much wood as I wanted to, so I decided to take some extra hits to get my face a little wider. Whether I needed to or not, I don't know, but that's what I did.
That's a good job. She did right there, just about 4/10 of a second behind our leader, Hannah Quigley. She's in second, and Captain Witkowski right behind, 49.98. Heat 5, next to last heat of the standing block here. Alexandra Miller on stand number 1, coming in here into this discipline in 5th place. And 3rd place, Emily DeYoung Brown to start the standing block on stand number 2.
We've got 2 heats left in this standing block chop, and I'm looking forward to them. I want to see these times fall, and these ladies are already, look at these cuts. They're coming in cleaner and cleaner. Nice, accurate hits, nice, accurate scarves. They're not blasting in with exceptional hit. Well, see, now I say that, Emily just turned up the wick. She now knows she's got a good, clean front end, and she's putting some pace to it on stand number 2. But I was going to say that the deliberate placement is going to win out over hit pace at this point, any stage of the game.
Wow.
Well, pack your bags, Tom. We've left the 40-second bracket. We're now down in the mid-30-second range.
It's in the rear view.
One more in the guts there for Alex Miller. She sends the top of that timber to the stage. Taking a look at the second half of the cut for Emily. Lost a little bit of slope on those up hits on the backside, but that's also where she turned up the wick and the pace. So maybe sacrificed one for the other. Got the job done. Our current leader in the standing block.
Emily DeYoung Brown, just perfect balance. You always watch competitors in this event. You watch their balance, how effortlessly they make it look. Well, she showed us a lot of that right there, taking a big lead there, 36.279. Alexandria Miller, 54.63. Final heat and much anticipated, our champion from 2019, the last time this event was contested. Martha King on stand number 1, the 2018 champion and runner-up in 2019, Erin Lavoie.
Certainly a points deficit for Erin Lavoie to dig out of this point after the stock saw performance that she did not want to have, opening up a very nice clean cut. Look at the deliberate pace from both of these ladies. Now, look at Martha King, though. She's around the backside. Both of them with clean cuts, placing hits. Martha opening 2 and 2 on the backside, coming in a little bit low on that top hit, that down driver on the backside. It's going to pinch in that back a little bit for her. She's going to be looking to drive this, though. She's going near. Wow, I was going to say near middle far, but it was near and done for Martha King. Erin's got the near side of that. You see that block twist turn. She's coming in low, though, on the far side there. She brings it up a bit. She was driving down into the stump on that far down driver and then just shifted it up just a couple of inches, so she was driving through into fresh, clean air.
Martha King picking up where she left off in 2019, taking first place in the first 2 disciplines and putting a lot of pressure on the rest of the field to pick up major points in our final 2 disciplines. The single buck is coming up. But first, these athletes dedicate immense hours to training for these events, but many still find time to serve their community. Let's find out in the Ace Hardware Helpful Profile. Many timber sports competitors give back to their community in numerous ways, and Kate Page is one of those athletes who serves the community through her occupation.
I think I contribute to the community through my job. I'm a wildland firefighter, so I spend my summers going all over the country putting out wildfires. I take a lot of pride in feeling like I work hard for my income, and that's what fighting fire is. We spend our summers hiking all over mountainsides with a bunch of weight on our back and using chainsaws and being away from home, and and the camaraderie with it. The camaraderie is irreplaceable. I think it's a really good way to give back to the community because everyone loves their public lands.
STIHL Timbersports continues. We are 2 disciplines into our competition, and 2019 STIHL Timbersports champion Martha King is at the top of our leaderboard, moving into our 3rd discipline, the single buck.
The single buck competition is based on the traditional process of bucking the log into smaller lengths. The saw is a long peg and raker format that both cuts and clears the wood. Consistent technique, use of the full saw blade, and speed are all necessary for competitive time.
Discipline number 2. Stand number 1 coming in 7th place points-wise. Julie Miller. Right behind her in points in 8th place on stand number 2, Colin Shepard.
3, 2, 1, go!
Under the new international rules, our ladies are under a time crunch to get these saws set, to get in position, and get mentally focused on the task at hand. It's a lot to ask in a short amount of time, but as these rules come into play, they'll get better and better at dealing with those constraints. Colin with a little bit of a hang-up, but she manages to get things righted again. Julie Miller is going to take off this heat. There's a look at Julie Miller's run. Nice, clean, consistent cut. Just a little bit of saw left out of there. There's some room between the handle and the block that we can capitalize on there. Julie is an exceptionally strong sawyer. She happens to be my former Jack and Jill partner from 2-person sawing. And many times I was hanging on for dear life when cutting with Julie.
There's your official time. Solid effort by Julie Miller at 22.60, more than 3 seconds ahead of number 2, Colin Shepard, after the first heat. Heat number 2 of the stock saw, it's going to be stand number 1, Kelly Kerrigan, going up against Emily DeYoung-Brown on stand number 2, who has already delivered 2 very nice performances so far in our first 2 disciplines, the stock saw and the standing block.
3, 2, 1, go!
That time crunch, though, not having an impact on Emily's performance. She is shifting some serious timber. Oh, no, trouble on stand number 1 for Kelly. Just the slightest change in angle at the wrong time. Oh, it's stand number 2 now. Oh, you get whiplash going back and forth between the two stands. We'll try to break it down here for you as offsetting hang-ups result in nearly a tie between these two competitors. Let's go back and take a look at stand number 1 and Kelly here first. See if we can figure out what happened here. Everything's looking good, looking productive. Somewhere, though, there's going to be some shift or angle change. There it is. You see the handle drop back and caught teeth and or rakers on her side of the log. Just slamming on the brakes for Kelly.
Oh, just that one little moment right at the end of the cut. What might have been for Emily DeYoung-Brown. Nonetheless, she takes the lead with a 19.93. Kerrigan, 2010. Julie Miller in 3rd. Dawn Shepard in 4th. Heat number 3, it's going to be Hannah Quigley coming in 5th place, points-wise. On stand number 1, 4th place in points, Catherine Witkowski on stand number 2.
3, 2, 1, go!
Hannah Page with a tremendous amount of that saw sticking out the front, and she managed to pull it back and somehow lost her way a little bit. Great form, though, from Hannah Quigley. Kate Witkowski just pistoning through this log. A lot more slope on that saw. It's going to be Witkowski on stand number 2. Quigley about 2 pushes behind. Look at these times just melting away. There's a look at Witkowski, Hayward, Wisconsin resident. Very different sawing style compared to stand number 1. Yeah, talking about the steepness that she's running. Look at where her hands are and the handle is at the end of that cut. It's way up by her ear. It's starting to get out of her power zone. She was feeling it a little bit today. Still posting a great time, though. Earning her a solid stack of points.
Kate, a great cut, unofficially in the lead in the 17. Sounds like you changed your technique to cut a little steeper lately. How does that affect your competition today?
Yeah, I think it affected it a little bit. It wasn't, didn't feel like a great cut. It felt like I never got comfortable in it. I've been training with a different type of saw, which runs differently in the wood, and I think I've been training to that saw, and so I only run this saw 3 times a year, so it's many competitors only run their racers a couple times a year, so it was a hard transition for me.
Official time, Kate Witkowski, 17.48. We had a couple of seconds ahead of Emily DeYoung-Brown. As you say, the times continue to melt down and down the further down to our field we get. Kate Page in 9th place, points-wise coming into this. She's on stand 2. And Tracy Henning in 12th place, stand number 1.
Trouble off the start for Tracy Henning. I think she tried to come down and back a little bit and hung that saw right out of the gate. Got a battle between 2 titans. Both these ladies are exceptional sawyers. Looks like advantage Henning right now. No, it's going to be Page at the end. What a finish. This is what I'm talking about, Tommy, is the technique gets refined as these ladies start to move towards those ideal cuts. Our times, our races are getting tighter and tighter.
That puts her in a good spot atop the leaderboard with a 17.44. And look at the difference, the minute. Hundredths of a second ahead of Catherine Witkowski, Tracy Henning. Boy, those 3 very, very close at the top. Heat number 5, there's Martha King. She has owned the first 2 disciplines, first place in each. This is discipline number 3, the single buck. She's on stand number 1, going up against 7th place, Alexandria Miller.
3, 2, 1, go!
Bit of a slow and steady start from Alex Miller on stand number 2. Martha King not waiting around, shifting a tremendous amount of material. Alex Miller, though, for the pace, is really also moving a lot of wood. Just a bit of a hang up there and trouble at the bottom for Alex Miller. Martha King, though, an exceptional cut down in the 15-second range. Let's have a look here at this run from Martha King, really kind of healing that saw in off the start, making some great progress through the top of that log. I feel like that saw wasn't really liking the middle of that block. Once the teeth got distributed over a wider range of timber, it came back to life again at the bottom. Timing that drive, you see her throw her head into that at the end. It's when you're putting all your chips on the table. It's gotta go at that point.
Yeah, you know, I felt like I was a little bit rushed because I couldn't get my hands right to set the starter cut. And then I didn't have the saw set the way that I wanted it. But I know that the saw can cut. And as long as I was in my stance, I was gonna have to roll with it. Could have been better, but I'm really pleased that I survived that little beginning debacle.
Well, surprising absolutely no one, Martha King goes on to take the lead in the single buck with a 15.22. Sandra Miller, 18.41 in her effort right there, but Martha King has to survive one more heat before she can claim her third discipline. Final heat of the single buck, Nancy Zaleski, who's certainly done some record setting in this particular discipline, the single buck, on stand number 1. Erin Lavoie, 6th place in points on stand number 2.
Two exceptionally tough single sawyers. Nancy Zaleski running a really aggressive saw and makes it look just effortless. Erin Lavoie bringing speed and technique. There it is, the Zaleski on stand number 1 manages to finish that cut first. I didn't even have time to say that Erin Lavoie reminds me so much of Peg Engasser in her cutting style, and just the finesse, the technique that she brings to that saw. Watching this run from Nancy Zaleski, getting some help from Matt Slingerland. Nose of that saw coming way back inside that block. Maybe room to move a little closer to the block, extend out a little more, but just melting down through that timber. There again, Nancy maybe thought she had it on that last push. She committed, didn't go. She had to go back for one small pull stroke.
You know, it felt great. I put my handle on the wrong side at the qualifier, and it pulled like a freaking train. So I went back this week and went, oh yeah, no, the other side's the way to go. And gosh, it pulls smooth and just got it redone. Thanks, Mike Sullivan. So yeah, here we go. Now I just got to drop a couple more strokes and we're off.
Great day for Nancy Zaleski, taking top points in the single buck and moving into 2nd place in overall points with 1 discipline remaining. We'll be settling it all with the underhand coming up next. STIHL Timbersports is sponsored by STIHL, maker of a full line of gasoline and battery-powered handheld outdoor power equipment. Find yours at stihlusa.com. By the Duluth Trading Company, the official workwear of STIHL Timbersports. By Ace Hardware. Ace is the helpful place. And by John Deere. Nothing runs like a deer. Welcome back to North Little Rock, Arkansas for the 2021 STIHL Timbersports Women's U.S. Championship. We are down to our final discipline, which will decide who will be the champion. Here we go with the underhand.
For the underhand, the competitors stand atop logs mounted horizontally on the stage. At the start, they will cut the front half of the log, then transition by facing the opposite direction to chop out the back half until the log is severed.
Final discipline of the day in these championships, Tracy Henning. Taking up the underhand on stand number 1. On stand number 2, Julie Miller.
3, 2, 1, go!
All New York mashup in this heat of the underhand chop. Julie Miller not letting any grass grow under the start on that one. She was right there on the go. I like the pace here. Deliberate. We're disassembling these blocks. Can't see the work being done on the front side, but you can see the chips that are coming out. Big slabs of wood. That means hits are going in the right place. There's a little bit of off balance, maybe a little bit of nerves from Miller. Going to a 2-and-2 pattern, and you can see, again, big chips falling out of these blocks. Roadmap's been set. Julie followed her recipe. Nice clean cut from Julie Miller. Hip placement so critical in this discipline for these ladies. We got to get reaching down to the bottom. There it is. Tracy gets down to the bottom on that hit and that one again. Finds those last fibers. One more blow. Tracy Henning steps off her block. Going back to take another look at this cut from Miller. She's going to be happy with the quality of this cut for sure. Though she always wants to go faster, but nice clean faces. Nice consistent cut. At this stage, we've got to be disassembling these blocks, taking them apart smartly.
Well, congrats to Julie Miller. Shortly after coming under the surgeon's knife and managing to make it here and wrap up a good performance there in the underhand chop with a 41.92. Tracy Henning, minute 10 seconds, point 10. Tracy Henning, a minute 10 seconds, point 10. Heat number 2, Caitlin Page on stand 1. She's 7th place. Kelly Kerrigan on stand number 2.
3, 2, 1, go!
Kelly on stand number 2 has had some disappointments in the sawing disciplines today. Got the axes out now. It's a chance to reel in and make some more points. But Caitlin Page says, I'm not waiting around for Kelly. She's putting up a blistering pace. Obviously, from this angle, we can't see how the block's coming apart. We'll get a good look at it now. Kelly about 2 or 3 blows behind at the turn. There's that disassembly that we like to see. Just kind of deconstructing this block. That hit came in a little bit too tight. Oh, she's stepping over now, looking to drive it, but it sounds dead. It sounds like she's driving into the backside of the block. There it is. She's going to go back for one more safe hit there just to make sure. You can see that's a great perspective from overhead, how that last couple of hits shifted over to her left, our right. She ended up driving into the stump, driving into the block underneath her foot instead of driving into the fresh air on the other side. This is all perfect, great, wonderful at this point. Nice, wide open face, a cornucopia of material that she can work with, and right there, the wheel starts to wobble. She then commits to that line. She's moved over towards her left foot. She's just driving into dead wood at that point. There's another look at that run from Kate Page. Most likely that was severed. That last hit didn't even cut any wood. Just sort of shocked that part of the block.
Kate, unofficially, you just took the lead in around 38 seconds. What happened on the final blow of that underhand?
Well, I thought for sure that it broke, but when I stepped off and looked down, I was like, well, I didn't really move that much. So just in case I stepped back up there and hit it again, I'm really hoping if they review it, it was severed on my first step down.
Number 3, Hannah Quigley. Coming into the final discipline in 8th place. Stand 1, stand number 2 in 9th, Colin Shepard.
3, 2, 1, go!
Both these ladies right together on that start. Hannah Quigley, a little bit of a hesitation after that first blow. Not sure if she was questioning whether it did what she wanted it to do or the axe hung a little bit. Great axe presentation by both these choppers. Great body positioning, getting the job done. Backside of the log, we can see opening 2 and 2. Look at the slab of wood, slabs of wood that are falling out for Colin Shepard. She can run this pace, keep those lines. Quigley already looking for drives. She's punched it in the gut. She's gone to the bottom. It's going to be Quigley, though, passing Shepard at the end of that block. There's a look at the second half of Quigley's block. Great lines. Look at how just top and bottom hits lining up perfect. I would not have predicted that block was ready to drive. Hannah Quigley obviously knew more than I did on this cut. Could have maybe used another chip to lift out of there, but she's committed at this point. She's got it wiggling. Finds that last fiber at the bottom, and it falls in.
Hannah's great cut. Potentially, you're looking at the second place position right now. I saw before the event you were asking the stage crew to get that log level for you. Is that what I saw?
Yeah, so the block was just lifting up a little bit, which caused a little bouncing on my left foot, and for me that's a really important part of my balance, so I don't like it lifting up whenever I'm shifting my weight.
Yeah, and I know you said you should have had it one hit earlier. What could you have fixed?
Yeah, so my hits were, the axe was definitely getting into the wood pretty far every hit, so I was just trying to lift it up instead of lifting it out and up. So it was kind of catching the heel a little bit. The last one, I think it just wasn't low enough. My hip placement was a little odd.
It's your first year Timber Sports Finals. What did you think of the experience?
This was pretty amazing.
We're going to see you again next year, hopefully. Thanks, Hannah.
Thank you.
Hannah Quigley, good effort, 42.91. Colin Shepard right behind at 44.15. They stand 3 and 4, still on top. Caitlin Page. Heat number 4, and Kate Witkowski comes into this one, tied for 4th. And overall points with Erin Lavoie, Nancy Zaleski. Your second place right now in points.
3, 2, 1, go!
Big opening blows from both of these competitors. Look at the chips falling out of the front of these blocks. Kate Witkowski around just ahead of Nancy Zaleski, getting 2 or 3 blows in ahead of her. Zaleski, though, putting a massive amount of power behind that axe. Witkowski looking to drive. Witkowski does drive and finishes off that block somewhere in the low to mid 30-second range. We've just got on the elevator and taken it 1 floor down. There's the opening of the second half of Kate's block. Kind of interesting how it came apart. A little interesting choice of hit placement there. But now she's in a really solid 2-2 roll. Just got to reach a little bit farther for those bottom hits. She's got that top completely done. Here's that drive. Nice cut by Kate Witkowski.
Great athletic effort from Kate Witkowski there. She really, as you say, puts it down on the elevator. Those scores going down to 33.76 timing in her effort at the underhand. Nancy Zaleski hanging in there in second place with 37.44. Heat number 5, Emily DeYoung-Brown coming into this one third place in points. Stand number 1, our leader, and defending champion Martha King on stand number 2.
3, 2, 1, go!
Martha King had the advantage of watching second place points earner Nancy Zaleski cut in that last heat. She knows exactly what she has to do. That's cut her best block. And Martha King is a smart and fast underhand cutter. She just buried that axe right to the maker's mark. Beautiful opening on the back side of this block. One hit got away from her a little bit. The top of that wood is cut. She clears the bottom, punches middle, punches bottom. I can't believe that didn't go. One more hit and she is off. 26.54 showing on the unofficial clock. Unbelievable run.
Martha King marches on. Look at that time, 26.29 to take over the top spot in the underhand chop. Kate Witkowski, Nancy Zaleski following behind. We have one more heat to go.
Well, you just had a heck of a day. You have one more heat to watch. You won the stock saw. You won the standing block. You're leading the underhand. Regardless, just congratulations, and it's great to see you back.
Thank you very much. It's so good to be here. We definitely miss our fans, but it's a wonderful family. We look forward to seeing everybody out here soon.
Thanks, Martha.
Thank you, Dave.
It's going to be a matchup on stand 1. Alex Miller, defending champion from 2018, Erin Lavoie.
3, 2, 1, go!
That blistering fast time set by Martha King, our current points leader and current leader in the underhand, is within reach of both of these competitors. Erin Lavoie cut a 22-second to get into these finals. She's turning at the 12-second mark. Great pace, great placement, clean cut. Miller around to the back as well. Lavoie,
wow.
Lavoie surprising herself. Unbelievable. That block just grenaded in the effort of Erin Lavoie. Erin setting herself halfway towards the edge of the stage. Alex clearly got the top of that block done. She had to go back for one more chip hit on the bottom of that log. Cleared the way for that definitive drive at the bottom. Here's a look at that finish from Erin Lavoie. You can see underneath there that block had cracked. It literally broke the fibers of wood. It didn't sever the fibers of wood. She was already committed for that last swing, and the block broke under her feet.
Erin, you cut 22 seconds in the semifinal round, and you said it's about time I do something, and you just backed it up in the finals here. Talk about your underhand. Talk about your day.
You have good days, you have bad days. It's unfortunate when it falls on a championship or when things really matter that you feel off and shaky and weird. But I just couldn't pull it out like a champion today. But underhand, that's my home. That's where I'm comfortable, and it was nice to finish on that.
Erin Lavoie taking the underhand and gets top points, but will finish in third place overall. Nancy Zaleski will finish second, and Martha King will hold on to her title and become a 2-time champion. Martha King, your 2021 STIHL Timbersports Women's U.S. Champion.